Me. Hello.
Morning.
Good morning. And welcome to Your Word is Your Wand. And I am Carrie Mushaw, Conscious Carrie. And my business partner here is.
Andrea Alexander, and I am Abundant Andrea.
Yes. And we're in body coaching. And this is Your Word is Your Wand. And this is a podcast where we created a movement so that everyone begins to become aware of how every word they speak creates their reality. And when we're speaking about our thoughts, that's the words as well. So, what are we thinking? Because it's not only what you're saying out loud, it's what you're saying to yourself, what you're saying into your head. And this is what we're aware creates our reality. And so, we're here to massively speak into our language. And today we have our special guest, and Yanen is a mindset coach. And so we love to partner in coaches to bring other coaches in to hear what magic they're creating. And because we are speaking of our wand as being magic, and our when we put this together, the reason we put it together with a wand because it's a magic of imagination. And what we love is that in our words, we can step in, and then we can even take ourselves a step further when we imagine and step into the real feeling of what we are manifesting and creating in our lives. And so that's the magic of the wand. And because we require going sometimes into a state of how we remember things in childhood. So as we begin this morning, before we get to talk and share, we are going to take a few breaths because I just absolutely love the power of breath. And Andrea and I create massively sacred containers. And this is one of the things we do in our classes and in our one-on-ones to create this sacred space, the power of your breath. So everyone who's watching, and if you're watching on replay, take a big breath. I invite you to all take a big breath. Inhale through your nose, really big. And exhale long and slow through your mouth. Let's do that again. Inhale really big, light up your nostrils. And exhale long and slow. We're remembering that inhaling is awakening. Right now, our receiving. And our exhaling is our remembering that we are massively secure and letting go. So, in the remembering of these two wonderful tools that are naturally gifted to us in our body, let's do another one. Now that we have an understanding, let's do another one. Okay. Here we go. Inhale really big, massive receiving coming in this morning. Let's go. And exhale, letting go. Awesome. And in the tools that Andrea and I use in our coaching, we use decrees. Decree a thing and it shall be. Andrea is masterful at decrees. And so we enjoy beginning with a decree once again as we're creating the sacred container and drawing in energy. And we invite you to repeat after Andrea and join and feel the energy that shifts inside of you as you repeat. Andrea?
Good morning, and thank you. And yes, our decrees are the way that Carrie and what the tool that Carrie and I use to redo our own reprogramming, and it's what sets the neural pathways into the belief of what is actually coming onto deck for us, what we are creating in our own imagination. And this morning, I choose to begin. I enjoy putting my left hand over my heart as I receive what I say to me. Is I love what I feel.
I love what I feel.
And I feel what I love.
Ooh, and I feel what I love.
Light I am.
Light I am.
I am loved.
I am love.
Light I am.
Light I am.
Me love me.
Me love me.
Ooh, there's a lot of feeling moving in me this morning. And I choose to love it all.
Awesome. And I always love when, and then every time, me love me, it just still creates a smile and such immediate joy. Because that's the power of love. So, Yaman, wait, thank you for joining us this morning. I'm so excited that you're here. And I know that you have played with, you and Andrea have connected more than you have yet to connect with me.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that.
So, will you begin by introducing yourself and just share a little bit about what you do?
I love it. So, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, Carrie and Andrea. I love that you start your show by introducing these amazing tools. And I can totally feel grounded and inspired and loved and safe already. So, thank you so much for doing that. I think that's awesome. My name is Yanet Borrego, and I'm a mindset coach, but I actually studied chemical engineering. Okay, so mindset coaching was something that I wasn't my whole life, of course. And something that I always say is like, it's not too late to reinvent yourself. It's not too late to rewrite your story and step into who you're meant to be. So I'm an immigrant, right? You can hear the accent. I'm actually from Cuba originally. And when I was 12 years old, I came with my single mom into the US with zero resources, $0, zero money. So a pattern that I've had in my whole life is this of reinventing myself, right? Having this blank canvas, which honestly, we always have that blank canvas, right? That we can create in our mind. And when I got to the US, honestly, my only concern was to be able to provide for my family. So I went ahead and I studied chemical engineering, which was a very prestigious career. And after 5 years and a half and doing a couple of internships, I actually got hired by an oil and gas company here in Houston, Texas, by ExxonMobil. So I was 23 years old and I had a 6-figure job in the mainline with a very successful company. And even though I had all these check marks of what everyone had told me success was about, and even though in my mind, I'm like, wow, this is the American dream. Now I can support my family. I can support myself. I have financial abundance. Even though I had all those things, I felt unfulfilled inside of me. And that's where I started my journey of seeking clarity. And in this journey of seeking clarity, I discovered what coaching was, and I felt in love um, with the profession of being a mindset coach. And something that I'm really passionate about is actually helping people, mainly women, but I'm very inclusive, helping people ignite that fire that they have within themselves already so they can step into who they are meant to be, just like I did. I mean, many people would consider engineering and coaching like opposite sides of the spectrum, right? Like, oh, engineers and emotions, right? My husband is an engineer, so he's more engineer than me in that, mindset of stereotype. So, yeah, during the journey of clarity, I started experimenting. A lot of people want clarity, but clarity is a byproduct of experimenting different things and seeing what works for you, because for every person may be different. So in the journey, I actually fell in love with coaching. While working in corporate, I started creating my side coaching business. And last year, which was a dream I had since 10 years ago. I transitioned from my 9 years corporate career to full-time entrepreneurship voluntarily. So it was my decision. And now I do this full-time. I really coach people. I do speaking engagements. I have my digital course. And it's all about mindset, right? And even in the mind, we also have the energy. Something that I've specialized is in the subconscious mind. I'm certified in neurolinguistic programming in various levels because I'm very passionate about that part. And even in the subconscious mind, you have the personal subconscious, which is where our behaviors, patterns, values, and beliefs are. But you also have the collective consciousness, right? The subconscious is the mind that is connected to the higher self, to the intuition, to the energy. And that's why I really resonated with you and Andrea, because I love that you bring this holistic aspect of the spiritual being and the energy. So that's how we connected, basically. Yeah.
That's awesome. And it's funny because Andrea and I apparently we're playing with engineers.
Oh my God, really? Well,
because we had a coach last week, and Pri had gone into school for engineering
correct.
as well.
That's crazy.
There's something in that, because one of the things that Carrie that my coach taught me was what we do here in life,
Yeah,
for our jobs is what we're here to do for ourselves.
totally.
So I initially began as a chef, so I was feeding others. So I'm here remembering how to fully feed me and satiate me. And there's something in engineering that I imagine has to do with how you are able to see small things and big things.
Yeah, totally.
I believe it's how you see the big picture, and knowing that it's the little things can take you to something greater, and that's for you to discover within yourself. But there's something in that engineering, because I know it's very minute and detail oriented, very mathematical.
A lot of troubleshooting.
Well,
there we go. Troubleshooting.
But is it finding the cause?
Exactly.
In engineering, is it because it seems like you go all the way down to the root? You're because when you're peeling back the layers,
engineering, yes,
you're going to the root. And so my belief is those are the people that enjoy studying. How did we get here?
Yeah.
How did this happen? And let's figure it out, which really is very paralleled with coaching, because we're supporting people in finding those patterns and going down and moving the layers one at a time, and being okay with moving the layers out of the way to get down to exactly where this began.
That is so true. It's uncovering the root cause, the problem, and learning how to mitigate it as you move forward. So I love that analogy. I had never thought about it that way. And I'm like, yeah, it's so true.
It makes so much sense.
It makes total sense. I'm like, why haven't I thought of this? I mean, amazing.
I love that you spoke into collective consciousness.
Yeah.
That there are, and one of the things that Carrie and I are discovering is, yes, we're aware of collective consciousness. We have the patterns that women were taught, the patterns that men were taught, what we were taught as children. And there's those things. And one of the things that we are becoming more attuned to is even the collective of archetypes. And when we start getting into ethnicities and socioeconomic backgrounds, and there's things that you were taught, being how women are or how men are in South America, how they are across different continents. And so we're learning all of that because we're hearing patterns in our people's in our conversations and what people are speaking into. And so it is amazing.
Totally. I mean, most of our beliefs are formed from age 0 to age 12. I mean, imagine that, basically. Like, you start being conscious by already having this subconscious programming directing your life in some way, right? So I think I love what you said, because we are being programmed since an early stage, right? And then when we grow up, like I did, we start realizing that we have this blank canvas to work with, right? Because if you think about school, right? If you think about school is telling you exactly what to do, right? They don't teach you how to think for yourself. They give you the roadmap, the exact roadmap to follow. They define what's failure and what's not. They define A, B, C. C may be average, but A, B is good. After C, like down there is not good. You're failing, right? So they give you all these black and white terminologies that when you leave that journey of school and you face adulthood, you're like, what do I do now? That's when you get faced into learning really how to think for yourself and understanding who you are. In engineering, I never asked myself, who do I want to be? I said, what do I want to do? Okay, engineering. But I never tapped into that being energy, which you started this program with, right? Really understanding, who do I want to be? Happy, fulfilled. Okay, cool. Engineering makes me feel that? Not really, right? I did it mostly for the money. And then it does take courage in order for you to embrace that new identity and take action to move towards your North Star vision, right? So I think that's spot on, Andrea. I'm glad you brought it up.
Awesome.
And so one of the things, because we talked about language.
Yeah.
So
love language.
can you remember? So we've decided we're going to start asking everyone if they can remember a time and space where they changed either their language or their thoughts, their mental language or their oral language, in which they noticed an entire change in their life or in something that changed for you. Do you have a situation that you're willing to share with us?
Oh, yes. I remember this moment. And I believe in trusting the first thing that comes to mind. So that I'm going with that one. I worked as an engineer for 2 years, right? And I just knew within myself that was not what I was passionate about. And this was a high stressful job. I was working night shifts from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. for 3 months. I was on call 24/7. Like I would get calls at 2 a.m. if there was an environmental release, so I can make the calculations, so we can send it to the environmental department in case we exceeded an EPA limit. There were so many things. And to be honest, the environment that I was in, it wasn't conducive of my growth, right? And this was my perception at the time, of course. So I just remember having all these feelings of this is not it, this is not it. And at the same time, feeling like the victim of the circumstance, feeling like this is happening to me, right? I cannot do anything about it. Everyone else around me complain, and we are all here, right? So it's the environment of like, let's all complain and not do anything about it. And I remember it was the end of one of the big events in the refineries where I have to support like night shifts, etc. And I was working from home, just like monitoring the temperatures of the reactor, just making sure everything was fine. And my mom tells me, because my mom lives with me, she depends on me. And I mean, she's amazing. She's my hero. She tells me, Janet, I need to buy milk. Would you take me? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing all of these things. I need to be here, but I feel guilty not taking her. So I took her to buy milk. And in my brain, Carrie and Andrea, during the whole grocery store trip, I was like, they're going to call me and I'm not going to be in my computer. They're going to call me. So I was ramping up all this stress that, by the way, I had already for the last 2 years. And suddenly my left arm just went numb. I had this big pressure on my chest and I thought I was going to die. I had a panic attack, which I had never had in my life. And that was after that one, I didn't have any more. And I'm like, Mom, we need to drive to emergency. I'm dying. Like literally it happened like that. And I call my boss and I'm like, I'm going to emergency, get someone else to observe the temperature of the reactor, etc. And I remember driving to emergency. I got there. They literally did like an analysis of my heart to make sure it was fine. And I should have assumed it was fine because 8 hours later they gave me the result, and I'm like, I've been here all day. What's going on? And that anxiety attack for me was an awakening moment that I was not the victim of whatever was happening to me, that I could take control of my life right away, that I could make decisions that align with my longer term vision of myself. And I remember just like drafting my resignation letter at like 2 a.m. the next day before I was going to work, and just sending the meeting invite to my supervisor. And I was ready to resign the next day. I actually did. But then my supervisor, he was like, hey, we're going to do anything to keep you. Just tell us what. And I ended up staying for reasons, but I ended up staying. But I did ask them, the only reason why I'm going to stay is if you transfer me to another organization, which I'm gonna research and see what aligns with my values. So even within corporate, I started at that moment to align with my North Star vision. So from engineering, I went to supply chain. And then from supply chain, I went to consulting later on, right? So for me, it was a big moment because, like I mentioned, realizing that I'm not the victim anymore allowed me to have this creative power of my life and to put that into action, right? So they literally agreed on transferring me from an organization, and I actually took a 3 months leave of absence too, like an unpaid leave of absence. And I think that was a moment where I decided that I was gonna speak up my truth, that I was gonna start being my authentic self no matter where I went. That I needed to take control of my life because no one else is gonna come here and say, Janet, like, do you want? I mean, you need to define it for yourself, and you need to take action and be courageous enough to follow that calling. And my biggest lesson, Carrie and Andrea, was to not wait until crisis hits, until I hit rock bottom, to make a decision that I know is aligned with me already. That was such a big lesson for me. And that was the moment where my language, my thoughts, my beliefs started to shift completely into a more empowered and aligned perspective. Yeah.
And so what I hear is you chose you, and one of the things that we're aware of is the outer or reality will get bigger in order to support us in making whatever it is.
Totally.
And that the anxiety is and your heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up.
Yes.
Our body is asking us to do something different. You followed suit, and then you spoke into what you chose immediately. You were heard. They returned to you and asked you, and you began to imagine and create what you were choosing to have on deck for you. And
Totally.
and you said, I went to supply chain, and I giggled because we are fully supplied in all of life.
Totally.
And so there's so many subtleties and consciousness. And so it's choosing a route of supply, fully supplied. And one of the favorite things I heard you say so far is I resonated so instantly with the remembrance of feeling it as if we are a victim of our jobs.
Yeah.
That was so powerful for me to actually hear. And because how many of us in the past or are still intimately involved with, they've got power over me, they've got this over me, and this, all of this stuff. And I'm aware of having the sense of power over. I had yet to correlate it to continuing to play the role of the victim, which is what so many, I include myself in this. I'm aware of what that means to me. And so thank you.
Yeah, I love
Yes,
that.
and one of the things I heard you say is I decided then I was going to speak my truth and live in my truth. And so my question is, what is your truth?
Oh my God, I love it. Honestly, my truth is to live a happy, fulfilled life that is full of impact, right? Like dedicating my whole life to helping others find their truth, to helping others live in integrity so they can experience their highest potential, you know? I think, and I'm sure that's what my truth is. It's just creating a ripple impact so we can all help each other find that truth. So we can step into who we are meant to be because we all have that fire within us that I mean we at the end of the day I truly believe we all know we are just afraid to take over that power. I love that both of you use that word of power because we are very powerful.
Yes, and one of the things, so you said that your truth is to empower others and to have an impact. And
Yes.
so, in order
That's
to do this, did it require that you go first?
totally. Oh my God. When I told people I was going from engineering to supply chain, they were like, "Are you? You are gonna receive less salary increase, less often." And I'm like, I truly believe that when you start aligning, the money will follow, the abundance will follow, but you have to go first. And few years into supply chain, like I had a friend that stayed back there in the engineering department and we shared salaries and I was pretty high up because I was doing what I loved. And when I was doing what I loved and what you feel aligned with, you are gonna do so much better that the version of you who would have stayed repressed in the old condition that you were not happy with. I think there is a lot of fear of uncertainty, right? Because we are telling all these things based on our experience, because we have gone first. And I feel it takes people to actually go through the journey to understand it. But I'm a true believer. I mean, I left my 6 figures job last year, okay, because I've seen what I'm telling in action. The more you align, the more you feel happy and fulfilled living your truth, the money will follow, the contacts will follow, whatever you're seeking will follow. It's just being in that energy even before achieving the thing, you know? Because even when we think of the next promotion or being an entrepreneur or achieving the next partnership with a romantic partner, what we are seeking is not the thing. What we are seeking is how that is going to make us feel. So we are seeking the emotion, the feeling. And sometimes we don't realize that the emotion, the feeling, the state, we already are. We don't need to wait until that thing happens for us to be that. So when you be that, when you're being that, then that will follow. The thing will follow, right? So we have it backwards in society. We think that by having, we are gonna be something, but we gotta be first in order to attract what we're gonna have.
What Carrie and I, one of the decrees that we use is ask as if ye shall receive, and be
Oh,
in
love it.
a state of already done. And I choose to know if you're
Done. That's
familiar
beautiful. That's in
with
alignment. Yeah.
Neville Goddard. And so he speaks greatly into imagination and how our subconscious is literally a slave and required to do anything we consciously tell it, anything. And so when we begin to believe, be alive in, and
Yeah.
imagine, we are creating the life that we choose. And you spoke into
Yeah.
feeling. And so when we imagine in deep feeling, this is where we become the great creator.
Beautiful.
And um, what I will often do with I've done I do with clients and I do with myself is, what is my outcome?
Mm-hmm.
And I find the feeling memory,
Yeah.
and that's where I stay. So I remember in the past, I was going through a completion of a relationship, and there was a lot of other feelings on deck. And what was my outcome? We
Yeah, that's
laughed.
beautiful.
And so every time any of the negative feelings or thoughts would come up, my go-to is, what is my outcome? We laugh. And I know how that laugh feels in my body.
Yeah.
And that's the way we began to reprogram and recreate the life that we love by using imagination and staying in our state of already done. It's our state is a
Totally.
being state. And yes, this is glorious.
That's right on, because honestly, through my coaching practice, I've realized that most people, and I've been there, and I mean, every day this happens, right? And it depends on us to course correct. But most people, and most of the time, we are focusing on what we don't want. We are
Yes.
focusing on the what if, the worst case scenario, what we don't want, what we don't want, right? And I think we got to understand that, like you said, we are visualizing all the time. And unfortunately, most of the time is what we don't want. So just creating that shift and course correcting is just life changing. So, I mean, I'm deeply inspired by your work. That's awesome.
And one of the things, so I'm rereading Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And one of the things she says in there is she says, this is a yes universe.
Yes.
The universe says yes to you.
Mhm.
Everything that you think and you ask for, you get. So, to your point, if you're imagining your worst case scenario, well, then guess what? The universe goes, yes, and serves it to you. Worst case scenario. And I am aware that we require being able to, because if we're scared of the worst case scenario, we'll draw that. So often, sometimes we will tell clients, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Yeah.
Okay. Then what
Right.
happens after that? Okay.
Exactly.
Then what happens after that? Okay.
Yeah.
Then what comes after that? So that they walk it as far all the way down to wherever it is and are able to be comfortable right there. And then you've eliminated what you've been fearful of.
Exactly.
But what we're also aware of is, in a yes universe, it's the question is, when are you just going to say yes to yourself? And that's what you experience, is the true authenticity of who you were. Because I hear that you enjoyed creating, and as we just discovered, finding the root cause and all of that.
Yeah.
And those are the things that ignited you. The environment that you were in, was that the way that you were using that, and you said no. And so you said yes to yourself. And
Yes.
what's happening
That's
in the
it.
world is we're saying yes to everything else. We're saying yes to everybody else. We're saying yes to oh yes, I'll stay. And you did. And then yet you did actually move yourself up the chain and into your heart's desire. And that may be the steps, and that's okay. But
Totally.
what we're just aware of is how many times we're saying yes to everything else, and yet to say truly yes to ourselves, that the universe is already doing it.
Oh, I love that so much. It's like if every day we choose ourselves, I mean, this world would be, I mean, it is magical already, but everyone would feel totally different in a very positive
And
sense. So,
the
yeah.
collective, we were taught to say yes, do for others first,
Exactly.
that we
Yes.
were being selfish, and that there's this negative connotation around selfishness. And the truth is, scripture says, decree, fill up thy own cup first. Because when we are significantly depleted because of everything that we're doing for everybody else, we're going to show up tired, resentful, irritated. And
Yep.
are you being present with people, especially as we go into the holidays? Are you being present with the ones that you love? Because you feel, when you're feeling depleted, and the answer is no. And so when we begin to fill up our own cup first, there's all kinds of things that Carrie and I do individually. We have partnership. I move my body. I feed me a certain way. I make sure I ensure that I drink a certain amount of water. I say yes to me all day long. And what we put on deck yesterday is, if you're doing something with someone and they ask you, ask yourself first, is this for me? And if the
Totally.
answer is no, be willing to put it down.
Yeah.
Or if you choose to say yes, do it with the energy of love
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
rather than, I'm doing this because I have to. I'm mama
Yeah.
said.
Totally. That's a victim, right? That's a victim. Is like, oh, they are doing this to me. Like, I don't have an option. We always have options. Whatever
Yes.
that is, even if it's 1% improvement, you're doing something different, right? It doesn't have to be this leave your job and become an entrepreneur. I mean, it took me 9 years to figure out the way, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah. So I love that. It's
Yes.
beautiful.
And so awesome that you speak into it, because now that we speak into it, we're here to share our experiences, because we're learning that we don't require to make it really, really big. I mean, we may have done it. Like I've had experiences where I've made things really, really big, and I'm like, why did I go down the path?
I
And
know.
it's what it took. It was where I was in life, and it's what it took at the time.
Yeah.
But now I
Yeah.
can choose something completely, completely different. So, and that's the other thing. When we step into this kind of consciousness, when we start doing the work like we're doing, I mean, have you noticed that you speed up your transformations?
Totally.
Yes.
Totally.
I mean, you
Totally.
get it so much faster. So those big things that we required before to get the message, we got it instantaneously now.
Oh, so they seem little because we're so much faster.
I know it's a huge accelerator, and something to overcome is like whenever you realize you're getting all these things, it's and sometimes it has come up for me is this fear of success too. You know, it's like fear of power of how powerful we are. It's like, oh my god, I'm getting all these things. Ooh, should I shrink back? Should I shrink back?
Ah,
Should I shrink back?
and
And yeah, sometimes it is that again programming, the collective programming is should I shrink back or should I shrink back to uplift others, which we know it's
doesn't work.
not true at all, right? By uplifting ourselves, we show others the opportunities, we show others that they can do it too.
What Carrie and I were speaking into
Yeah.
is, we talk about resurrection energy. I'm the resurrection of love. I'm the resurrection of power. I'm the resurrection of light in me and my family and my world and my women. And we have been playing small. Our subconscious is, yes, we have been afraid of success. Yes, we have been afraid of our own
Yeah.
power. Yes, we have been afraid of our own light, because what if we outshone everybody else? We would no longer, the fear of no longer fitting in. And that goes back to the far back into being part of the community. If we are cast out,
Yeah.
that was typically resulted in death. And so we've been
Yeah.
trying to fit in, stay under the radar, do just enough so that we are seen and successful and all those things, because we've literally actually been afraid of being kicked out. And are any of us here to actually play in fitting in? And it's what
Yeah,
we've
I
been
love that.
playing in our little selves, and we're here for our own greatness. And it requires courage for us to become aware and step into it. And one of the things that Carrie and I do with regularity is, when something comes up that feels scary, I go, oh, that scares me. Let's do it.
Yes, exactly.
We're gonna do it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah. I
we're
mean,
playing. Go ahead.
fear is an indicator that you're on the right track. You're in the right place, right? That's how fear is now my friend. Before I was trying to run away from it, but rejection creates obsession. Like you said, you bring back that fear in many ways. So every time fear is going to show up every time we try anything new. So I've learned to expect fear. I'm like, okay, fear is here. Cool. It means I'm in the right place. It doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, yes. I mean, it's uncomfortable, of course, but like you said, you do it anyways.
I have adopted what I learned from you, what I heard from you, which is fear and faith both require that we believe
Aw,
in something that we
yeah,
cannot see.
Yeah.
Will you say that again,
Right.
please?
Yes. Fear and faith both require that we be alive in something that we cannot see. It is a choice. What will you choose?
Yeah.
Fear or faith?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not guaranteed either one of them, right?
No.
But yeah.
And it's just, you said people are afraid of what of the future. We're typically afraid of the future. We already know what happened in the past. We don't like it. We're trying to get away from it. And
Yeah.
so we're trying to control the future. And there's all kinds of dopamine reactions and things that happen and that keep us in that belief of reward and worry. And all we're doing is missing where we are right now. And we're,
Exactly.
I'm so aware of like the days where before I was unconscious and aware, being in my house and storming around, and I'm so mad, I'm so sad, I'm so whatever, and I'm looking, and there's nothing. I'm surrounded by peace and serenity and beauty and comfort and ease, fully supported. I'm the one making up how I feel. We get to qualify. And so you can choose, you can be afraid, or you can walk by faith and trust that life is for you again.
I love that.
And when you were talking about success and feeling success and then backing up. So one of the things I was having this memory of being coached and pulling my shirt. And I'm like, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I don't know why. Like as she's coaching me, I'm pulling my shirt. She's like, do you fit in where you used to anymore? Does it fit for you to be this way? I was like, no, because it was the backing down and I was getting bigger. Steps forward were getting bigger. I was having bigger experiences and I was having more clients and classes and more opportunities. And yet I was pulling on my shirt and she was like, and we laugh because everything we do is in consciousness. And while my words, I was like, I'm not sure why I feel this way. and then I started doing it. And she was like, and do you fit in that small space anymore? I was like,
Totally.
no. And so we require being okay with being successful and being comfortable. And we may get uncomfortable at first, but what I'm aware of is we're uncomfortable at first. And then we may start moving forward. We feel success. And then suddenly we get uncomfortable again. And we're like, what just happened? Like, wait, I'm doing it. What happened? And we just may have backed up a little bit because we got scared trying to fit ourselves back into what we used to know because we believe it's really comfortable. But then there's a part of us that's no longer really comfortable there anymore. That space no longer fits us. It no longer provides for us. And it's no longer the cozy blanket. And it's time to continue moving forward. And we just find it in these small little places. And we can continue, as you said, recognizing the energy of what's happening to us because we are the identifier. So we can identify, is this fear or is this faith? Because if you're newly to walk in faith, how do you know what it feels like?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so you may believe, oh, this is fear. Is it? Because I keep hearing, we're talking about fear and we're saying, yeah, when we get scared, we go ahead and we lean into it. And that is awesome. And now I'm hearing that walking in faith for me, identifying faith has been new because of my family beliefs in faith were fear-based. And so walking new. So I'm hearing right now, Carrie, choose that when you are faced and you feel as though it's fear, to tell yourself, ask, is this fear or is this faith?
I love that.
I can declare it.
Yes, we can choose to trust, to call on trust. And walk in
like the name of this show, your word is your wand. How you label things carry energy. So I love that. I mean, we have said over and over, it's a decision, right? I was sending my weekly newsletter today, and funny enough, this is the universe. I was talking about fear of failing or succeeding. Like, I swear, the same topic we are talking about. And while I was analyzing what I was writing, I'm like, honestly, the root of these fears is a fear of uncertainty. It's a fear of uncertainty, right? What will happen, whatever that might be. And the remedy is what you mentioned, Andrea. It's being in the present moment, like just being here and decide to own who you are, own your truth, and focus on the task at hand with the direction of where you want to move towards. But at the end of the day, that's it. We got to be more present.
I remember there's another coach that Carrie and I enjoy. Her name is Melanie Ann Layer, and she's with her business is called Alpha Femme. And I was on a call that she was doing, and she was like, "Hello, this is the universe, and no failure, please." And the universe is like, "Oh, 2 more orders of failure." She said, "No, I don't want failure. I'm scared of failure." "Oh, more failure coming your way." Failure's on back order. And it's
That's
that
hilarious. I love it.
the energy of fear brings more to be afraid of. And one of the things that I do for myself is when something's coming up, I will is my great self experiencing this? And if the answer is no, my great self is my God self. Is God experiencing this right now?
Yeah.
The answer is no. Be willing to put it down.
That's it. That's it.
Exhale, let go.
No,
As we begin.
I love 2 things about what you said is talking to yourself, developing that relationship with the self, and trust the answer. I mean, those 2 things to me are like just like life-changing elements of this journey that we are in. Love that.
And the reminder of having a relationship with ourselves.
Yes. And care, just making it's sending a friend request to your brain.
Oh, yes, I said that.
Yes, I loved it. And it's being a friend to yourself.
Yeah.
Because we've often spoken of reparenting, and we're remembering how to be with us the way that you are with the 3-year-old, because our subconscious mind, our emotional feeling world, our feelings stay at the age of a 3-year-old, even when we're 90.
Totally.
It has nothing to do with our maturity or anything else. That's where our feelings are. And so when we be with our feelings as we would a 3-year-old, is where we are gentle with us. That's why the decree is me, love me, as a 3-year-old would understand. And I will often say to myself, it's time to go to the gym. I'm like, I don't want to. And I hear you. It's okay, sweetheart. We're going to go anyway.
I love that. So cool.
And there are days when I say no, and is my great self. Yes, I require rest. We make whatever it is that we do, whatever it is that we choose, okay, is where we take all that other guilt and shame and judgment off deck, and we just be with who we are.
That's beautiful. Sometimes, like in the journey of getting there, most people have to go through a series of steps, right? So something that I use with my clients, I ask them, hey, who is the person that you love the most? And they usually say another person that is not them, of course, and like their kid, for example. And I ask them, what would you recommend to do to that person that you love the most in your life? And it's usually what they wouldn't recommend to themselves, right? Of course. And I tell them, hey, you gotta treat yourself like the person that you love the most, because you are. And whatever you want for that other person outside of you, you gotta do for yourself at the end of the day. That's love, So I love that approach, because most people need to dissociate them from themselves in order to understand these like concepts that for us are natural. And some people, they are still working on that, like a learning curve or of developing the best relationship with themselves.
One of my decrees early on was I follow my own advice.
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a journey, right? Yeah, that's beautiful. We're so connected. I love it.
That's
I know.
that's funny because it was one of mine too. So that was one of my degrees as well.
I'm telling my clients, I empower you to do breath. I empower you to do this. I empower you to encourage and empower. And I'm like, I follow my own advice.
Oh, that's powerful. I'm gonna steal that one. That's powerful.
Yes,
You may have it.
It's what's
I
going
follow my own
on,
advice.
and
Yeah.
it's what's going on inside of us is the only reason we're aware of anything on the outside. So because it's already happening in us. That's the only reason we even know.
Exactly.
Or it wouldn't phase us. We wouldn't be focused on it. We would have no awareness it was happening. But the reason we're aware is because there's something in us that is doing the exact same thing.
So true.
It's so powerful. So as we are concluding, we're coming to being complete. And so as we're coming into being complete, will you share your website with us so that I can go ahead and add it in here so that if someone desires to get connected to you, what is the best way to do that?
I love it. So my website is YB Coaching, Y with like Yanet, like you see it in the screen, ybcoaching.com. I also have a podcast called With Clarity and Purpose, which I'll have both of you. I'm so looking forward to that. And my Instagram is Yanet B Coaching. So I'm so happy you two had me here. I'm just so energized by this conversation, and I know this will continue. So
Yes.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, it's really good. You know what? I'm going to take a screenshot. I'm choosing to remember how.
It is on yours. It is Alt, I believe.
Look at me.
Control.
Let me get my glasses. Let's get some glasses on here so we can see
Don't
everybody
worry,
really
you can do the
clearly.
snipping
Oh, I
too.
got it. I believe I've got it. Let me see. Everybody smile. Oh, that's not it. Popping up stuff on the screen. I got it here. Okay, everybody smile. There we go. So we have it. I believe I have it. Did I do it? I'll try this one. Let's see. Oh, maybe this key. One of these keys is getting it done. It's so funny.
I got one too. If you need it, I can send it your
Okay.
way too.
That
We
would be
got it.
awesome, just in case.
Yes,
We
I
got
will.
it.
I will email
We
you.
all got it. So awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. This has been super, super fun. And I do love the fact that as one another, as coaches, what we've experienced, what I've experienced in the past is a lot of ego, and that we can't support each other because there's got to be other clients. And what if she gets my client? She gets that client. And I've had those experiences in the past. And what I'm aware of so much now is when we put our egos down and we say yes to ourselves, because the truth of who we are is the person that loves to play with one another, loves to partner with one another, and loves to see evidence that we can do it. And that's what we're saying is every time we see somebody doing it and we're like, oh my gosh, there's somebody else who's talks just like me and Andrea. Look, she's doing the same kind of stuff and she's having miracles in her world. And she is supporting a shift in our collective. And so I am super excited to be with you. And I'm so awesome that that Andrea and I are creating these forums where we bring coaches on, we share their websites, and we empower everybody to go with a coach that supports you. The biggest thing about a coach is a coach that is doing it already. That's who you want to be, your coach.
Amen.
Because we do, and every call, Andrea and I have group class. We do every single play sheet that we give them. We are doing it ourselves. And so we are in the movement while they're in the movement. So we are constantly moving up scale. And yes, we move faster now because we continue to do it, but we're doing the work. And because it feels so good, that's why. Yes. Because I already know that I have a miracle from one thing, so I just keep going. And so when you're hiring a coach, you definitely want a coach that's doing it, that's still doing it, that's still showing up, that doesn't believe they've mastered everything and they've taken a class and they're done and they're complete. But that's what we're seeing is how many people that Andrea and I are connecting to recently and that are doing it. And I love it. And I see you and I see you're doing it. And I'm so excited.
You're so sweet. I really appreciate both of you. And I love this abundance mindset because I believe the same. If I bring a coach to my platform that you connect more with, why not? That's how we create impact, being connectors, right? So thank you so much. You guys have inspired me. I love what you're doing with your platform. I love what you're doing with your clients. I mean, you're huge examples that I'm following. And again, thank you again for having me here today.
You are
You're
welcome. And we
You're welcome.
appreciate you.
And so we're here every Wednesday, and now we always have a new guest, and so it's super exciting at 8:30. And you can find us on YouTube and at Embody Coaches, and then we're on LinkedIn and our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page, Embody Coaching. And then on Monday and Friday, Andrea and I are on Clubhouse. And I choose to get that link and get it in here, and I will do that for next week so that anybody that decides to join us. Clubhouse is a wonderful forum because you're able to jump in and ask questions, and we're able to answer and coach right there in our room. And our room is called Your Word is Your Wand. So you're going to find us everywhere with Your Word is Your Wand, because that is where we're moving everything, what we're speaking into. And so we will see you next week at 8:30. And thank you so much for joining us. And everybody have a great hump day. And
Enjoy. Thank
enjoy.
you. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.